She said she'd never touch wedding flowers unless the couple passed her tarot test. But when her ex asked her to decorate his big day, she broke her rule. Because she had one more card to turn. And fate. It was about to play its wildest hand. Welcome to the Tarot Wedding, a romantic comedy with a touch of mystery, a black cat that knows too much, and a love that's lived more than once. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to follow all our magical love stories. And tell us in the comments, do you believe in past lives, or tarot cards? Let's find out together. Emma Lively had one rule in her flower shop: no weddings without the cards. Located on the corner of Royal and Dumaine in New Orleans, Petal and Moon was more than a florist. It was a little bit of magic in a world too busy to notice signs from the universe. To the outside world, Emma was just a 42-year-old woman who loved peonies more than people. But her regulars knew, before you walked down the aisle, Emma would shuffle her antique tarot deck and ask 3 questions. If the cards didn't like your answers, no bouquet, no boutonniere, no exceptions. It wasn't superstition. It was protection. Emma had watched too many friends rush into disaster disguised as happily ever after. So when a tall shadow fell across her counter one Tuesday morning and a familiar voice said, "Still judging love with cards, Em?" She didn't even look up. She knew that voice too well. Ryan Thorne. Her ex. The hurricane of her 20s. The charming, unreliable, devastating love she'd buried under years of therapy, rose petals, and lavender sachets. She turned slowly. There he was, 45, tanned, confident, with that same crooked grin and the same inability to take anything seriously. "What do you want?" she asked, already regretting asking. "A favor," he said. "I'm getting married. And I want you to do the flowers." The sentence hit her like a slap wrapped in velvet. "You want me to arrange flowers for your wedding?" He nodded, as if this were completely reasonable. "To someone else?" Another nod. "Her name's Vanessa. She's perfect. You'll love her." Emma blinked. Then laughed. "Ryan, I have one rule." "I remember. Tarot. But come on. Don't you think that's a bit outdated?" Emma crossed her arms. "No card, no camellias. That's the deal." Ryan held up his hands in surrender. "Fine. Don't read my cards. Just make them pretty. Vanessa loves orchids." "Orchids? Of course." Emma was about to say no. Firmly, finally, completely. But something stopped her. Maybe it was the way he looked at her, like he still remembered the girl who used to dance barefoot in the rain. Or maybe it was curiosity, that strange, twitchy sense behind her ribs whenever fate tapped her on the shoulder. She agreed. "I'll do it," she said. "But I want to meet her first." That Saturday, Vanessa stepped into the shop like she'd floated in on a breeze of money and lavender. She was beautiful. Polished. The kind of woman who made Emma instantly check her reflection in the back mirror. They sat over iced hibiscus tea while Emma showed her flower samples. Vanessa giggled softly, sipping her drink. "Ryan told me you're a bit of a witch." Emma smiled. "Only on Tuesdays and when Mercury's in retrograde." Vanessa didn't laugh. She just tilted her head, curious. "Could you read my cards?" Emma hesitated. "It's not a party trick." "I know. But I want to be sure. About this marriage. About Ryan." That surprised her. Emma reached under the counter and took out the cards. "3 questions," she said. "You think of them. I shuffle." The cards were old, soft at the edges, and smelled faintly of rosewood and something older. Emma spread the deck. Vanessa picked 3. The first card, the Lovers, reversed. The second, the Tower, upright. The third, Judgment, upright. Emma's hand froze over the third card. Her stomach turned. "What does it mean?" Vanessa asked. Softly. Emma looked up. "It means something's unfinished." Vanessa frowned. "Unfinished?" Emma forced a smile. "Just wedding jitters. Happens all the time." She lied. The cards weren't wrong. They never were. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. The wind outside howled like a warning. She lit a candle by the window and pulled the cards again, this time asking her own question. Should Ryan be marrying Vanessa? She pulled one card. Death. Change. Transformation. The end of one cycle. The start of another. Not literal death, but something was coming undone. Something buried was waking up. And then she heard it. A soft thump. In the flower fridge. She walked over, opened the door, and gasped. The orchids, the ones meant for Vanessa, had turned completely black. Petals curled. Stems collapsed. As if they had been cursed. Next to them, paw prints. Tiny. Wet. Like from a cat. But Emma didn't own a cat. Emma didn't sleep that night. She sat at the kitchen table, staring at the single black orchid she'd salvaged from the fridge. It had withered in her hand, like it knew it didn't belong. Like it had died in protest. She tried to tell herself it was just a bad batch. Maybe the refrigeration settings had been off. Maybe it was a fluke. But then came the paw prints. Tiny. Mysterious. Leading out from the fridge to the back door, which had somehow unlatched itself. Emma checked her locks twice. Lit a fresh candle. Set a salt circle by the front mat, old habits from her aunt's teachings. Then she whispered to the dark. If this is you, universe. I'm listening. The next morning, she opened the shop late. And there, curled up on the front counter like it owned the place, was a black cat. Sleek. Unbothered. Green eyes that felt ancient. Oh, no. You're not staying, she warned. The cat blinked slowly, then yawned. Absolutely not, Emma added, pointing toward the door. You're cute, but I don't do familiars anymore. It didn't move. Instead, it leapt gracefully down and landed beside her tarot deck, the very same card she'd used the night before. Emma narrowed her eyes. Fine. But you don't get a name. You're just cat. That afternoon, Vanessa returned with Ryan. Emma tried to keep things professional. She wore neutral lipstick, a plain blouse, and kept her heart firmly zipped behind sarcasm. Vanessa loved the samples, Ryan said. She's so excited. Vanessa smiled. Especially the orchids. They're my favorite. Emma hesitated. About that, we had a small issue with the shipment. I might need to substitute something else. Maybe calla lilies. That's fine, Vanessa said. As long as it's you doing them. Ryan looked around the shop. This place hasn't changed a bit. Still smells like cinnamon and regret. Emma smirked. And you still wear cologne like you're covering something up. They both smiled. Too long. Vanessa watched them, then tilted her head. How long were you two together? 2 years, Emma said. 3.5, Ryan corrected. Emma shrugged. Depends on how you count the months he disappeared to find himself. Vanessa laughed nervously. Well, that's all in the past now, right? Emma nodded. Past lives and all. That night, Emma pulled the cards again. Just one. The moon. Illusion. Secrets. Hidden truths beneath a beautiful surface. She sighed and sipped her tea. Cat curled in her lap, purring like an engine. I should walk away, she whispered. I gave him up. I let him go. This is not my story anymore. Cat opened one eye. As if to say, isn't it, though? 3 days later, strange things began to happen. It started small. A bride-to-be came in for a consultation. When Emma laid down her cards, they all turned blank. No images, no symbols, just white. Then, in the middle of preparing centerpieces, a gust of wind blew through the shop. The door hadn't opened. Nothing had moved. But all the red roses in the bouquet twisted themselves into knots. And the cat. It started following Ryan. Every time he came by to drop off a wedding playlist, or confirm a delivery date, the cat would appear. Watching. Waiting. Emma asked a friend, an older woman named Auntie May who used to run a hoodoo candle shop on Decatur Street. You've got a repetition happening, May said, sipping her chicory coffee. This ain't about flowers. This is a cycle. A cycle. Something unfinished. A karmic knot. A soul contract maybe. Between me and Ryan. May raised an eyebrow. You think it's coincidence he showed up here? Asking you to bless his wedding? The universe doesn't do random, honey. Emma didn't respond. You need to go back, May said. Back to the beginning. Find out where this loop started. Or it'll end the same way it did before. That night, Emma opened the old chest in her attic. Inside, wrapped in velvet, was a journal she hadn't opened in 20 years. Her grandmother's. Handwritten spells. Stories. Recipes. And, at the back, a list of dreams her grandmother had recorded after a strange fever in 1952. One entry stopped Emma cold. Dreamed of the girl with the red hair and the man with the scar. They lived in Paris, 1884. She sold flowers. He was set to marry another. The wedding was cursed. The girl disappeared. The man died 2 days after saying her name. Emma's hands shook. Ryan had a scar above his collarbone, a thin white line from a motorcycle accident in college. She had red hair. She closed the journal. The shop phone rang downstairs. Emma ran down to answer it. It was Vanessa. Emma. I don't know who else to call. Something's wrong. What happened? I saw a woman in the mirror. It wasn't me. Emma froze. She was crying, holding flowers. The same bouquet you showed me. Vanessa. I think someone's trying to stop this wedding. And just like that, the past came knocking. Emma drove through the foggy streets of New Orleans, headlights cutting through thick mist, heart pounding like a drum. Vanessa's voice echoed in her ears. I saw her in the mirror, crying, holding the bouquet. This wasn't just bad energy anymore. Something had crossed over. Something that wanted to be seen. When Emma arrived at the townhouse, Vanessa was standing barefoot on the porch, her hair undone, robe slightly open, clutching a mug of tea with trembling hands. She's gone now, Vanessa whispered. But I swear, she was real. Emma entered cautiously, eyes scanning every shadow. The place was modern, sterile, far too neat for the kind of chaos that was clearly brewing beneath the surface. Tell me exactly what happened, Emma said, setting her bag down. Vanessa, Saturday. I was brushing my hair. And then, my reflection moved before I did. Emma stayed quiet. She looked like me, but older. Sadder. She wore a veil. She mouthed something, but I didn't hear it. What did she look like? Red hair. Same eyes. Same mouth. But different. Emma blinked. That's impossible. Vanessa leaned forward. And then she shattered. The mirror cracked across her face. Emma walked over to the mirror. Perfectly intact. Not even a scratch. But in the reflection, behind them, was the cat. Sitting silently at the door. You don't own a cat, Vanessa said, wide-eyed. Neither do you, Emma whispered. Back at the shop, Emma dug through her tarot deck, searching for the missing card. The Lovers. Gone. She hadn't pulled it since Vanessa's first reading. And now, it was nowhere to be found. Cat leapt up onto the table and placed something beneath its paw. Emma slowly reached forward. A folded piece of paper. Yellowed, frayed, and torn from the journal in her attic. It read, Beware the second vow. One heart still remembers. One heart still forgets. She barely slept. In the early morning light, Ryan showed up at the shop with coffee and a sheepish grin. Hey, he said. Emma didn't smile. Is Vanessa okay? She had a weird night. But I think it was just wedding stress. She saw a ghost. Or she had too much champagne. Emma sighed. Ryan, do you ever take anything seriously? He paused. I used to. When I was with you. That landed with weight. Emma turned back to her flower table. So why'd you leave? Because you scared me. She looked up. I scared you. You saw things I didn't. Believed in things I couldn't explain. I thought, if I stayed, I'd lose myself. And now? He walked closer. Now I wonder if I ever found myself at all. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Ryan picked up a card from the deck on the table. "What's this one mean?" Emma looked. The lovers. It was back. But this time, the image had changed. The two figures were no longer facing each other. They were back to back, separated by a wall of thorns. "That's not how it usually looks," she said, confused. "Looks like us," Ryan said softly. "Always close. Always missing each other." Emma's breath caught in her throat. That night, Emma had a dream. She was in a garden. Twilight. Vines hanging from stone arches. Jasmine in bloom. She wore a long ivory dress, barefoot, holding a bouquet of lilies and wild roses. A man waited at the end of a path. Ryan. But not Ryan. Same eyes. Same face. But older, dressed in a century-old suit, a rose pinned to his lapel. She walked toward him. As she reached out her hand, a shadow passed between them. A tall woman in black. Vanessa. But her eyes were blank. Her mouth twisted in rage. She whispered. "He made the vow. Not you." Then everything turned to ash. The garden. The flowers. Ryan. Emma woke up gasping. Kat sat at her feet, tail twitching. The next day, Auntie May came to the shop. She looked at Emma and said, without being asked, "It's happening again." Emma poured her a cup of tea. "What exactly is it?" May traced her finger along the rim of the teacup. "Your bloodline's been cursed with broken vows. Someone, generations ago, made a promise they couldn't keep. And now every lifetime since, two souls are bound to repeat the same pattern until one of them breaks it. You think that's what's happening between me and Ryan? I know it is. And if you don't figure out how it ends, it'll start all over again." Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the Mississippi, Emma stood by the river walk. Ryan met her there. "You said you didn't believe in past lives," she told him. "I didn't," he replied. "Until I dreamed of a wedding under jasmine vines. And you walking away." She turned to him. "What if we're doomed to fail? Again and again? Then maybe we should stop running. And finally ask why." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "I don't want to be a ghost in someone else's story." "Then write your own." They didn't kiss. Not yet. But something shifted. And the river whispered its approval. The morning of the wedding rehearsal arrived with a strange chill in the air. Even in the thick New Orleans summer, the breeze that moved through Emma's flower shop felt cold. She had barely slept. The dream of the garden still lingered in her mind, the whispers, the veil, the shadow of Vanessa standing between her and Ryan. The message was clear: this wasn't just a wedding. It was the wedding. Again. Emma arranged white lilies and soft eucalyptus for the altar, trying to keep her hands from shaking. The cat followed her around all morning, silent and watchful. Every time she looked at it, she remembered what Auntie May had said. One heart still remembers. One heart still forgets. But now, Ryan was remembering too. That changed everything. At the rehearsal, Vanessa looked radiant. Her ivory dress shimmered in the sunlight as if it had a secret of its own. Emma stood at the back of the small garden chapel, clutching her clipboard, pretending to be busy. Ryan caught her eye. Just once. It was enough to make her breath hitch. Vanessa walked up to her during a break. "I had another dream," she whispered. "Same woman. Same veil." "What did she do this time?" Emma asked. Softly. She was crying. But not out of sadness. Out of rage. She said, "I stole something." Emma's heart dropped. "Vanessa, I think." "I know it sounds crazy," she interrupted. "But part of me thinks this marriage isn't supposed to happen." Emma looked at her. Really looked. There was no malice in Vanessa's eyes. Only confusion. And fear. And love. Then why go through with it? Emma asked gently. "Because I want to believe that love can rewrite fate. That we're not just echoes of some unfinished story." Later that evening, back at the shop, Emma lit 3 white candles. She pulled out her grandmother's journal again. There, Tucked between pages she hadn't seen before was a faded photo. Black and white. Two people standing in front of a flower cart in Paris. The woman had red hair pulled into a loose bun. The man wore a three-piece suit. They looked exactly like Emma and Ryan. On the back, in elegant script, June 14, 1884, the vow was broken. Emma stared at the photo, her throat tight. "What vow?" she whispered aloud. Kat blinked slowly from the counter. Then, without warning, it leapt onto the table and nudged the journal open to another page. A list. Vows of binding, for lovers torn by time. *1. To meet again. To remember. To choose freely. Emma read the last part twice. To choose freely. Maybe that was the missing piece. Maybe love couldn't rewrite fate, but choice could. At midnight, Emma walked to the river with a bundle of wildflowers and the old photo pressed to her chest. She tossed the bouquet into the water. "I release you," she whispered. "Whoever she was. Whoever I was. This time, we choose." The wind shifted. The cat appeared beside her, sitting quietly. And in the distance, the church bells rang 13 times. The next day, Emma arrived early at the venue. The flowers had held up beautifully despite the strange weather. The air smelled like jasmine and something sweeter, like freedom. As guests began to arrive, Emma stayed backstage, checking her notes. Then Ryan walked in. Alone. "You're not supposed to see the bride before the ceremony," Emma said with a small smile. "I needed to see you." He stepped closer. "Emma, have you ever felt like we were meant to finish something?" She met his eyes. "Yes. But not by pretending nothing ever happened." He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small. Her tarot card. The lovers. "It was under my pillow this morning," he said. "I don't know how." Emma took it from his hand. The image had shifted again. Now the two lovers were facing each other, not back to back. But between them stood a doorway. Closed. "There's still a choice to make," she said quietly. "Then let me make it." Ryan stepped forward. "Do the cards. For me. Right now." Emma blinked. "You sure?" He nodded. She took a deep breath and shuffled the deck. Slowly. Carefully. Then she drew 3 cards. First, the Fool, upright. A new beginning. Second, the Devil, reversed. Breaking free from old patterns. Third, the Sun, upright. Clarity. Truth. Joy. She looked up at him, stunned. "It's your choice, Ryan. For the first time, it's really yours." He took her hand. "Then I choose you." From the hallway, the music began. The wedding march. Vanessa was waiting at the altar. Ryan looked back. Then forward. "You should tell her," Emma said. "She deserves the truth." "I will." He squeezed her hand. "Meet me on the pier. After." And then he walked out the door. Emma stood frozen in the flower-scented silence. She didn't know what he would say. She didn't know if he'd run, or stay. But for the first time, the future was unwritten. And maybe, just maybe, that was the real magic. The church was quiet. Too quiet. Emma stood behind the chapel, heart racing, hands clasped tightly around her clipboard though she wasn't checking anything anymore. The guests were seated. The string quartet played something soft and familiar. White roses lined the aisle, her roses. But the real question wasn't about flowers. It was about what Ryan would do. Would he walk to the altar? Would he say, "I do"? Or would he remember? Vanessa stood at the front, radiant in her gown. Her hair shimmered beneath a delicate veil. Her hands trembled as she clutched her bouquet. Emma couldn't watch from inside. Instead, she waited on the pier, just behind the church, where the Mississippi River moved slow and wide, like time itself exhaling. The pier was old wood and memory. It creaked beneath her feet. She had set the final bouquet there, a mix of lilies and violets, just in case. The cat followed her. It sat beside her quietly, tail swishing. "Do you think he'll come?" she whispered. The cat blinked slowly, like it already knew the answer. Inside the chapel, The music shifted. The doors opened. Everyone stood. Vanessa turned, her face glowing. But Ryan didn't enter. Instead, silence. A full minute passed. Then murmurs. Then confusion. And then, finally, footsteps. But not down the aisle. Out the side door. Toward the pier. Toward Emma. He arrived breathless, tie askew, boutonniere gone. Emma turned, eyes wide. "You ran," she said. "I walked fast," he corrected, catching his breath. "But yes. I left." "What did you tell her?" He looked down. "The truth." Emma's stomach dropped. "And?" "She said she already knew." Emma swallowed hard. "And she let you go." "She said love doesn't have to be possession. That maybe, she was part of the lesson. Not the destination." Emma wiped a tear from her cheek. "She's braver than both of us." He smiled. "She said she dreamed of this moment. That she saw us. Here. On the pier." Emma looked around. The sky had started to shift, blue fading into a warm orange glow. "What now?" she whispered. "Now," Ryan said, pulling something from his pocket, "we do it right." It was the tarot card. The lovers. Only now, the two figures were holding hands, standing in front of an open gate. Emma took his hand. "Is this how we break the pattern?" "Or complete it," he said. "Either way. I don't want to lose you again." They stood in silence as the wind moved gently through the magnolia trees, the river lapping softly below. Then he said it. "I never believed in past lives. Until I met you, twice." Emma laughed, tears running freely now. "And I never believed a wedding could be saved by stopping it." They didn't kiss right away. They just held hands and stood at the edge of everything, the river, the past, the future, breathing in the stillness. The cat rubbed against Emma's leg, then leapt onto a bench and stretched lazily, as if the universe had finally exhaled. Then Ryan leaned in. Softly, gently, like a promise never fully spoken before. And they kissed. This time not for the past, but for the first time. Back inside the church, Vanessa removed her veil. She walked down the aisle, alone, head held high. The guests watched, murmuring, unsure. She smiled at them all. And said only this. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone else's love story unfold. Then she walked out into the sunlight. Free. That night, Emma closed the shop. She lit 3 candles. One for the past. One for the present. And one for the choice that changed everything. She placed the tarot deck back in its velvet box. Then smiled. "No more weddings," she whispered. "Unless the cards insist." But the cat purred loudly, jumping up onto the counter. At its paws, a new card. Emma picked it up. The star. Hope. Healing. A new path. She laughed. "Okay. Maybe just one more." 3 weeks after the wedding that didn't happen, Emma found herself humming again. She hadn't done that in years. The shop was blooming with late summer dahlias, sunflowers, and lavender. The cat still refused to leave, now permanently installed on the front counter like a very judgmental receptionist. Ryan had started coming by every morning. He didn't move in. He didn't propose. He just came. With coffee. With crooked smiles. With a new kind of patience that Emma had never seen in him before. Sometimes they walked to the river. Sometimes they just sat in the shop, reading quietly. No vows. No promises. Just presence. And somehow, that felt like the most powerful vow of all. One Sunday afternoon, Emma hosted a small reading group in the back of the store. Just 5 people and a candlelit circle, pulling 1 card each and talking about the week ahead. Ryan sat in the corner, pretending to read a gardening magazine, but watching her like she was the only thing in the room worth noticing. When the group left, he wandered over. "You looked happy," he said. "I'm happy," Emma replied, gently pressing petals into a handmade journal. "It's weird. Weird is good. Weird is new." They smiled. "Do you ever think about it?" he asked. "The past life thing." "Yeah. The wedding in Paris. The broken vow. The second chance. Emma nodded slowly. I think we finally completed something. Not by forcing it, but by letting it go. He leaned on the counter beside her. I think about what could have happened if I'd gone through with it. With Vanessa.
Yeah.
Emma was quiet for a beat. Then it wouldn't have been our story. It would have been a copy. A rerun. Exactly. You don't fix the past by repeating it. You fix it by choosing something new. Ryan looked down at the tarot deck on the table. Can I pull a card? Emma raised an eyebrow, feeling brave. He shuffled, clumsily, and turned over the top card. Blank. No symbol. No number. Just white. Is this bad? He asked, frowning. Emma shook her head. No. That's the best one. Why? She smiled. Because it means the future's unwritten. You get to choose what happens next. That evening, Emma locked up the shop and sat by the window with the cat on her lap and a cup of tea in her hands. She stared out at the street, the same cobblestones, the same streetlights, but something about the world felt different now. Lighter. Open. A knock came at the door. Ryan. Holding a bouquet. You said no more weddings, he teased. Technically, I said no more wedding flowers without the cards. Good, he said. Because this isn't for a wedding. He handed her the bouquet. It was wild and imperfect. Lavender, jasmine, violets, and a single daisy in the center. It's just for now, he said. For whatever we're starting. Emma took the bouquet. You sure you don't want a card first? Nope, he said. This time. I choose blindly. That's bold. That's love. They stood in the doorway, the evening breeze curling around them. Then, from behind the counter, a thump. The tarot deck had fallen. Cards scattered across the floor. Emma bent to pick them up, but stopped. One card stood out. A new one. She had never seen it before. It showed a flower blooming through a crack in stone. No title. No number. Just that image. She showed it to Ryan. He tilted his head. What's it mean? She smiled. I think it means, we've grown past the story we were trapped in. We're in something new now. No labels. Just possibilities. And as they stood there, in the quiet hush of a shop where magic still lived in the petals and candles and cards, the cat leapt down, tail high, and padded toward the open door. It paused. Looked back. And for just a moment, Emma saw it. Not a cat. But a shadow of something older. A guide. A witness. Then it blinked. And was just a cat again. Some love stories don't end at the altar. Some don't even begin there. Sometimes, the real vow is choosing each other again. Without the scripts, without the past. Just heart and hope. Thanks for watching The Tarot Wedding. If this story made you smile, made you think, or made you wonder about fate and second chances, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one, filled with magic, love, and a twist of the unexpected. And tell us in the comments, do you believe that some people are meant to find each other, no matter how many lifetimes it takes? We'll be reading your answers right after we pull a card or two.